Alright, I think we are all set up. Good morning, everybody. Coming in. There we go. Alright. Got our subject. We got a dog under our feet. And happy, Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday. Grades are due today. That's very exciting, too. What I get to do after this is get all my grading submitted. Everybody's favorite time of the year. Alright, we got some ARM studies here from Cassius Lupechka or Cassius Lupechka. But yeah, what I've been doing lately for those who are coming in, but basically I've been looking at tutorials that the Etherington brothers have been reposting from other people. And I thought it would be helpful, depending on how much I get done during the day, to start off by warming up by looking at some of those tutorials and seeing what I can learn from them or share with other people. So this is looking at supination and pronation cheat sheet from this person. So it's the rotation of your wrist on your lower arm and the effect it has on how things look. So there's a bunch of different little diagrams here showing that effect. This might be a 2-day one. Coming out here. So yeah, that's what we got going on here today. Add me on Discord. We got ourselves a little spammer over there. I'm gonna get rid of you real quick. And goodbye. And we will delete message. Alright, clean that out. Taking out the trash. So we have a supinated arm. So the arm is in what they call anatomical position. So it's kind of handed, palm is out facing towards the viewer. If I can knock out my grading, do another pass on my school stuff, then hopefully I can take a break from it for a while. go. So basically supinated is like you can see where the bicep inserts into the middle of the arm here. I don't really show that in their drawing, but that's what's going on here. So, and then they're going to do the pronation, which is where you go from this to that. Flip your hand over. So, let's get another one of these in here. Keep it around the same size. Let's get that volume up a little bit. So, yeah, so in this case, the arm flipping over, so you have the wrist cutting across here. The thumb goes from being on the outside to the inside because you flipped your hand over. Fingers coming out. You see the brachioradialis here cutting across the bicep. And the effect that has on the arm. Alright, so we got those two in, and you got some side views over here. So here's the deltoid, you got the triceps coming down, and the bicep. Over, and you can see the brachioradialis here, up. Brachialis is right there. Tricep inserting in there. Deltoid coming up. Over. Good morning. Over on the YouTubes. How are we doing? There we go. Alright, so yeah, we're looking at a tutorial again from the Etherington brothers. Well, not from them, but reposted by them. This is by Kasia or Cassius Lupechka or Slupechka, one of the two. I'm not familiar with the artist, but it's a kind of a cheat sheet on pronation and supination, which has to do with the rotation of your wrist, one way or the other, and the effect it has on drawing the arm, because the bones in your arm, your ulna and your radius, they kind of cross over each other when you flip your wrist out. So you've got your ulna that goes to your pinky and your radius that goes to your thumb. And when you kind of rotate your arm, they flip on top of each other and they cross over each other. If you're not aware of that, that's something that happens inside of your arm. Anyway, it affects how things appear on the surface, obviously, because all the muscles and the joints and that are all getting flipped around. So, anyways, the diagram, a set of images this artist put together that kind of go through the anatomy and the structure of that. So it seems like a perfectly good one to look at. So that's what I thought I would look at today. Might be something if you've had a figure drawing class, they would have talked about it in there, kind of showing that when they go over the the anatomy of the arm, why things look the way they do, and the effect that has on the surface when you're drawing the actual figure. So yeah, if it's not something you're familiar with, definitely worth checking out, because it will make a big difference for how you understand your drawing. We'll scoot these ones down under here to maximize our space. So now we've got kind of the hand facing us view. So here's the upper arm in the background, and then we've got the hand in front. Oh, I'm about to sneeze. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Oof. I don't know why I'm sneezing today. We have a lot of rain outside. It's nice and wet. The arm, lower arm underneath here. It's got a little arrow showing kind of the movement. So there's that one. So again, we've got supination, pronation, supination, pronation, supination, and then pronation. Good morning. Alright, we got our pronation. Alright, and then we got some inner anatomy stuff going on over here. Having the arm, showing the bone layout. What I might do, yeah, I'll go ahead and redraw it, that's fine, it's good practice. The same as these, it just has the bones drawn in the lower arm. Try to keep it the same size. Right. Anybody got any exciting summertime plans? Alright, so we got, he's drawing the bone, or this person, I have no idea who this person is, so, but they got a radius here. The radius has like a narrower start up by the humerus bone, and it gets wider as it comes forward. And then the ulna does the opposite. It starts wide, and it's kind of the hinge joint there on your it's the hinge joint at your elbow, so it wraps around your humerus bone. It goes into the what's the name of the notch that's back there, the hole in the back of your humerus, but your olecranon inserts into that. So olecranon's kind of the bumpy part on your elbow that sticks out. It's a good landmark. Can I draw a rock? Yes. Here is a rock. Or are you talking about the rock? I'd have to look up some reference. I've drawn many rocks in my life. I've painted many rocks. Is it fire or is it... Now it's fire. And now it's on fire. So, Merry Christmas. Happy birthday. Alright, next arm will be the pronated. So we got supinated and we got pronated. If you were to ask me randomly, I probably wouldn't remember which one is which. But I guess supination is where it's just facing toward you in its anatomical position. So if you put a gun to my head, I might not remember which one is which. It'd be a 50-50 guess. So we got the brachioradialis wrapping around up there. Again, they drew these arms over here, but this one the person includes the bones as a diagram in here to kind of show how they supinate and pronate. So supination is when your arms are out, hands out facing forward, and supination is when it flips over. There used to be a bone they would reference in the muscle rather they would reference in the arm. They called it the supinator. And it's not actually called that anymore because it doesn't actually do that. It's just kind of, it moves with the supination, but it doesn't actually control it, and so they had to stop calling it that. But you'll see it in like older anatomy books. That's one of the tricks with learning artistic anatomy. Even is sometimes you'll look at older texts and they'll have a little bit different names for things, or totally different ones sometimes, but most often like just a little bit different. So here they're crossing over. So here's your ulna, the bone that goes to your elbow, wraps around it, and you can see it kind of shifts to the side, to the out, and then the radius actually rotates on top. So it has like a little ball joint right here that wraps around your deals with your what's it called, your well, it has a ball joint that attaches to your humerus there, but so that's why it pivots the way it does. Alright, so there's the top row. Next up, I think I might have to move this over. Start at the top. Almost like a typewriter, right? Working our way up and around and down. Kind of scoot this over. Bring that down. There we go. It's kind of work up here now. So next up we're just looking at bones made into simple objects. So they're kind of making like a bendy, so they're kind of making a bendy type of, I guess, box for the arm bones. So they have like a drawing here of the ulna and the radius together. Oh, I'm about to sneeze again. Excuse me. Oof. And then the old radius is out here. This is all kind of going down to the wrist down here. So you've got your ulna and your radius. And then make a line that connects here to there. Not sure why, but they do. And then I guess they're going from the inside corner here to the outside corner there. And then next to that one, they have a simplified version. I think so you can track the actual line. I think that's what they're doing. They're showing the connection between how that point pivots. Again, of course, because I'm doing this in the morning, just to draw something, but also to see if somebody has a way of looking at things or knowledge about something that maybe I don't have as well inside of me. We have a little indication of the surface here. And that connecting line. Underneath, they've kind of roughed in the bones a little bit, but they're pretty light underneath the structure here. another view. It comes in this way. Kind of seeing this top plane. And another little twist. And there's the ulna over here. And there's the rotation. So this is basically saying this is kind of going over here. As you can see, the plane shift inside. And this is that connection line that they've been showing. Right there. Let's see the changes in the planes here. Does my rock rock? Checks that one off, and then let's see, I need my little hand brace over here. Now they show the arm with a similar diagram, showing the connection coming down. And then they can see kind of the flipping here, the other side. Fingers come out. I can see the contours. And then here's like a little twisty diagram showing it over here. It's all good stuff. Hello. Over there on the kick. And we go the other way. That's one of the weird things about like the lower arm is you kind of start looking into that structure, and it has some weird kind of aspects. It's like tracking the changes of the knee, the patella on the as it kind of moves up and down and around on your on the face, on the kind of the knob of your femur bone. Kind of up and down and around, and there's these pads that kind of get squished and unsquished underneath it, and all that stuff. Similar with this, where it's kind of, you got this twist going on with the arm. Like the upper arm's a little more straightforward, but areas like this or the knee. They tend to be just a little more complex. I guess that's why Jim Lee was studying to be a doctor originally. I probably knew his anatomy pretty well, at least how to talk about it. When he was learning as a student. Can't say how he was doing when he was how he was doing with his drawing as a med student. I guess he was probably doing pretty good if he jumped into comics so quick. Alright, and then we can see the movement of the arm up and down. So we got humerus bone up here. Kind of overdrew this notch on the outside. I will simplify that, but kind of a squarish bump on the outside of the top of your humerus, and that's where some tendons attach. Yeah, well, he at least, they let him. What happened, I think, with him, I think what I've heard him say was he basically said he gave himself a year to get into comics. Like his parents let him take a year off from school and see what happens. And obviously he got in pretty quick. I think he started off with like Alpha Flight, and there was Punisher, I think he worked on for a while. But he got in pretty quick and got very popular, within a couple of years of getting started. So, but yeah, they did initially kind of support him, right? But yeah, the Asian doctor thing is pretty cliche. I remember we had a commencement speaker at a school I taught at in Hong Kong back when SCAD had a campus there. I was working for them. Never go to SCAD, by the way. It's a miserable place, especially for teachers. Can't speak for the student experience, but I did not enjoy working for them. I liked the students, but I didn't like working for them. I liked being in Hong Kong, but I did not like SCAD at all. This next up some planar stuff in here, which I think would be helpful to see. But this guy came out. I forget his name. It's like some like interior decorator designer guy. Anyway, his comment to us, because he's from Hong Kong, and so that's why he was one of our speakers there. Oh yeah. Yeah, the school has problems. It's part of it is all they care about is growth over everything else, and it's a real problem. Schools need to deal with it. Like they're worried about the future of the student population, mostly due to the changes in people not having kids. For a lot of people not having kids at all. Like me, I don't have any kids, as far as I know. But what was I saying? Anyway, this guy, he was saying because he's a Hong Konger, a local guy, lives in the United States, has for a long time. But he said his parents gave him two choices when he went to college. He could either become a doctor, or he could become a doctor. Those were his two choices. And so he started taking like electives in interior design, and kind of worked his way over there gradually over time. But this is a very common way of looking at the arm, is the chain link. So you've got your deltoid, your bicep, you've got your upper arm muscles, and then the bone as it comes out. Yeah, I was actually quoted in an article a number of years ago. It's been a long time now, but it's after I lost my job there. We were contacted because there's a bunch of weird stuff kind of going on at the school, most of which I wasn't really privy to. I could just see the effects of it, and What is Banacraft? Are you talking to some of your friends? Um, but um, but yeah, I got this reporter had done some reporting. I think there's a number of articles that come out about some of these private schools. One of them being San Francisco Academy of Art University, and some of the controversies around the people that kind of own and run that place. And then this reporter is doing kind of an investigation about SCAD, and talked to me. And there was only 2 people that were quoted by name in the article, and I was one of them. I'd forgotten about it, and then it came out like 8 months later or something like that. And I was initially a little bit scared because I wondered if maybe I'd said too much. But the thing is, I didn't know anything. Like, outside of like my teaching, like I wasn't involved with any administrative decisions, so there wasn't like any like NDA that I could violate by, talking about things that were going on. Everything that I knew about was like my personal experience and things that were being done, required of us in the classroom and other places. Nothing that was like based in any kind of secret knowledge. So I just showed up and taught my classes and participated in required pointless meetings. Oh, those are both your Instagram accounts, huh? Oh yeah, what did Sean Crystal say? I've talked to him a little bit online because I saw we both taught at SCAD, but I haven't heard him say much beyond that he didn't like it. I tried to get him to come teach online for our school, but he's busy doing his own thing. We're doing that thing with Jake Parker in SVS. Maybe I can get him to come over here and do some stuff with our students because I think he would have a outsized influence on them. But okay, we're kind of looking up at a person. I think they're making this part too big to be looking up, though. I see. I've got a few Instagram accounts myself, so I think I've got like 5. One for my illustration, one for painting, one for my Xterra camper build, one for my dog, and I made one for plants that I haven't really done much with in a long time. Yeah, the students were great. It was a lot of teaching, so they have a very high teaching requirement there. And I didn't like being on a quarter system. I just think it wasn't enough time to really get any depth with the students. But they have really good marketing there. If you get their marketing materials, it's pretty it's good stuff. They know how to advertise. And they've got 15,000 students. In spite of the fiasco that the Hong Kong campus ultimately was. I appreciate that, Amir. It's very kind. Yeah, I'll both be, I think, online more and less this summer. So I'm hoping to get out on my little... I converted my Nissan Xterra into a micro camper. And it's set up for me to go like outside and go painting and camping and travel around, where I can drive to. And this is a very classic thing. Like, you'll see this chain thing in Bridgman. If you look at the George Bridgman books, he this is where a lot of people get that from. Is from him. I'm not sure where it came from originally. I'm sure he didn't invent it. Probably. But if he did, that's great too. But he's very popular source for structural anatomy understanding. But I really like Sean's podcast. He gets in some really great artists. I saw he had Nick Dragotta on recently, who's been doing that Batman series. I've read some of those issues, to check them out, and I don't really like it all that much. The art thing's really nice. I just don't like the tiny head thing. I think it just looks silly. I get why it's there. I understand all the style and everything. It's just not my cup of tea. It just seems like it'd be obvious to everybody who Batman was. There's one gigantic guy walking around with a tiny head. Seems like people would pick up on the idea that this massive monster is him. And supposedly he's supposed to have less access to resources, but it seems like he doesn't have that problem at all. He's just his fact that he's not a billionaire doesn't really cause him any issues in the comic. He just kind of takes care of things regardless. Nothing. There's no negative consequence to him not having been the famous Bruce Wayne. Oh yeah, I'll have to check that one out if that's where they were talking about the teaching stuff. I saw that there was that, but I didn't. I never got into listening to that. He does a lot of podcasts, so I sometimes don't catch all of them. I saw the Rick Remender one. I was hoping he was ask Rick Remender why he's so chatty in his books, why he uses so many words, or characters are always talking about philosophy and their philosophical stances and things like that. Just a lot of talking, but he gets the best artists on there. He's had Greg Tocchini do a couple of books for him, and he's really incredible. Nice little diagram of the chest. I think the hand needs to come out. I'm just making the chest bigger than the arm is what I'm doing here, so it's easier to make the arm a little bigger. Yeah, because I know he was very well. I think what I've seen so far is nobody really likes working for SCAD. They just hire a lot of people. I think if you have the opportunity, if you're just looking for a private school to teach at, I think you'd be much happier at a place like Ringling. I taught there for 4 years. I really liked most of the people and what I was doing there. I got tired of the weather in Florida, and then I had the opportunity to come up here for this position, which was where I'm at now, which is it's a really good one. But and of course I have my online teaching stuff too. So Sean, I've got my own little teaching site, myartprofessor.com, that you see linked at the bottom of my kind of the multi-streaming thing up there. Mostly perspective stuff at the moment. I'm hoping to get back to working on that site a lot over the next over the summer and fall. I was hoping to do it this semester, and then I ended up getting roped into teaching an extra class, and it was in a weird time of day, and it kind of just destroyed my schedule of this fall. And I've also been rewriting our entire curriculum. And so for an illustration concentration at our university here at VCU, which will go live. The concentration will go live for students coming in to the major, so sophomores of 2027. And I'm excited about that. I've got most of it hammered out now. I just have to go through make sure I've got all of my questions answered for the administrative document people. Good morning over there on Instagram. Sole Imanimami. Don't ask me to say that 10 times fast. So I got one arm down here. But excited about it. I think there's been kind of a malaise, a lack of focus that's kind of come into the program here, and a bunch of us are kind of working to change that. So it's more exciting, it's more fun, it's better for the students. Because one of the things we've seen is just our major has just exploded in size. So our department is 1/3 of the entire arts program. So you take all the different majors and you mix them all up and combine them together, and ours is 1/3 of that population. And so, but the problem with that is there's a lot of divergent interests. There's kind of a couple different tracks already kind of in the culture of the program. So, and I think we could stand up, like we really should be our own art school by itself within the school. Like there should be our program and a separate fine art program. And so working on trying to increase our influence and access to resources and all that good stuff that will make a difference for our students. I think I'm making this hip too big too, just like a little bit. We had a really cool guest come out to our school recently. We had Ian McCaig. They're just kind of showing the views of the arm, different angles. 48 minutes. Hopefully I'll finish. I don't know. Do I start the inking now and then see how much time I have left and finish the other arms tomorrow? So try to keep this to about an hour. So I think I'm going to go ahead and start inking. See how far we get. Let's come back down here. There we go. This is from somebody's eye tutorial the other day, or yesterday, I guess. But yeah, we're excited about the new track and the difference it'll make for our students. And well, the tracks, I guess we're revamping an old one and putting in a new one. They're reworking the visual effects one, and then doing this illustration one that I've been assembling over the last year. So, but it's nice to be able to have that kind of influence. Like at SCAD, when I was there, like I'd sit on these committee meetings and they were completely useless. Like all their entire function was to say that we were on a committee, that that the professors participated in the governance of the school. But we didn't actually make any decisions or recommendations or accomplish anything. It was kind of like well established that what we were doing was a waste of time. And that was just kind of always really disheartening there, so that what you're doing didn't matter. And so I was like, why are we doing this if it doesn't matter? If it doesn't, it's not going to change what we're doing or have any impact on students. Why bother? I've got other things to do with my time. But other schools I've been at, please send you, well, if you go to myartprofessor.com, you will find my teaching website. It's mostly perspective stuff. I thought about doing some stuff on anatomy and figure drawing, which I may look at later this summer once I finish off what I've got to do on there. But that's what's currently available there. So definitely check that out. myartprofessor.com. I think it's linked in my bio on Instagram if you look it up. Right, don't forget the nipple, right? Um, yeah, so I like to multiply my effort. That's why I'm inking these. Is one of the things that I'm trying to do is kind of get better at kind of graphic inking. So I'm used to drawing with pens and ink just to like make like a nice drawing, but I'm trying to like really pay attention to kind of graphic approaches to inking. Maybe that's a mistake, I don't know, but because I'm thinking about doing this comic, because I've been working on this portfolio refresh for the last while. It's kind of like a ongoing project, and as I was kind of doing it as a world building project, I started having ideas for stories. And normally, I think generally it's wiser to have like a story and then build your world around that. It was something Ian McCabe really emphasized when he was here. That I think is true, helpful. But I've had stories come up, and that's kind of helped me focus the things that I'm actually making for the project. Anyway, as part of that, I was thinking, what if I did do a comic? I haven't really thought about that in a long time, but so I've done like a couple of test runs on some things, and I've got some more I want to do. Yeah, I don't. Well, the thing is, I would write it all in English, right? So I don't speak whatever you speak in Iran, and that'd be very challenging and very time consuming. I don't mind answering questions here, but unless I'm on the job, I'm not really about sending people feedback online on their work. So my ex did get featured on like an Iranian Instagram account once, which I thought was interesting. Kind of an overlanding, I guess, club or something that was out there. I thought that was interesting that one time. But yeah, a little busy for that. Mm-hmm. And then I like to use this brown paper because what I'll do when I come to the end is use the white ink on top of it to pop out highlights or upward facing planes and things like that. There's that hand. Where'd that hand go? It's at the top, where it always was. Alright. The importance of this diagram is the bones in here. I have no idea what any of that is. Not a clue. I only speak and read the languages that I speak. And that is not one of them. Next arm over here. We got the radius coming over here, bumping into the carpal bones. Here's the ulna getting pushed to the side. Maybe I'll show that just by putting some lines in here. wrist. I don't know, does anybody else know what he's saying over there? Hopefully it's all polite. So you get surprised by the number of people that seem to expect I'll speak whatever their native language is in here. Yeah, it's like I'll get Brazilians in here and they seem to think I speak Portuguese, which I do not, sadly. Sure, it's a perfectly fine language and everything, but it's not one I've ever looked at very much. I can say I don't understand Portuguese, no falo português, but that's about it as far as my Portuguese knowledge goes. If you want to speak to me in Russian or Lithuanian, or some listen to some really bad Cantonese, those are options. Alright, now we got this one over here. This nib does pretty well on this paper. Alright, I appreciate that. All I know about Iran is they're always 5 years away from having a nuke. It's been that way my whole life. Which I am pretty sure is just a propagandistic lie, but that's what they're always telling us on the news. 5 years. See the phones in here and then the connection coming through. Let's see, next one. rotation there, and then showing that connection coming through. Good morning, people popping in. This one over here. Oh no, we got past an hour. I was worried about that. I got caught up with sketching all these diagrams here. This stuff over here. Good morning. That was a mess. Let's see if I can clean this up a little bit. A little better. Have a good one. Alright, next one over here, just planar. Well, it's very similar where they're showing kind of if the chains is interlocking, intersecting forms. Good morning. Kind of showing the normals popping off here. Off in different directions. And we'll finish this arm over this guy over here, and then we will get the white ink out. Touch it up because we're using the brown paper. A little bubble right there. Hopefully it won't be a problem. Just like enough loss of magnetism because the paper that's underneath this that it a little support there doesn't hold it quite as well. Just enough. All right, let's get the. Let me put the date on here. 250513, and the artist here is at Cassius Lupechka. Just in case I don't finish this tutorial, which I think I will. Tomorrow we'll do that. But make sure I get that info on there, lest something come in the way of it, right? And then we're going to add little highlights on here. Because we'll start over here and work our way over the other side. Yeah, since we're using the brown paper, might as well take full advantage of it. I say, anyway. Maybe that's controversial these days. I don't know. Oops, got the ink on my hand. Sometimes I get kind of weird topics in here. Like the guy wants me to look at his stuff, send him a bunch of feedback to teach him how to do things, but he doesn't speak English apparently, so he's doing some kind of translator there. I just think like that would be a very difficult conversation to have, personally. You know. Plus he wants me to do it for free, and he's a complete stranger online. It's another kind of weird thing to do to somebody. I don't mind talking about stuff here, but you know, watch my email and take advantage of use my time that way. It just doesn't seem like a very healthy way to do things. Personally, maybe others would view it differently. Other arms down below. You know, yeah, it just seems weird to me. I would never put that expectation on others. Unless it was like a family member or something like that. Here's that rock. Get extra fire. Have it cook that hand. And we'll write fire on there. Maybe there's different cultural expectations out that way. I am not as aware of. Mark the radius in there. Alright, everybody. What's wrong with me? Refill my water jars here. But yeah, thanks everybody that came in. I appreciate it. We're going to call that a morning study for today, and we'll continue with this one tomorrow. Hopefully bring it to a finish and then see what else there is out there to check out. So appreciate everybody that came in, and we'll talk to you next time.